I saw this video by a guy named Adam Ragusa. He does videos about cooking on YouTube. Very good content creator. I invite you to check him out. He made a video recently about why restaurant menus at high-end restaurants have shrank over the years. Like you've been to a nice restaurant. I know. I've been to nice restaurants. We both know that how big are the menus at nice restaurants? They're very small, right?
Yeah,
Right. In
typically.
fact, often at a very good,
Often, yeah,
you
you
don't
don't even
even
have
have
a
the
choice.
choice.
Yeah.
It's just a tasting menu. You're just saying, I would like the tasting menu, obviously, and your only choice is do you want the wine pairing or not, right?
Hmm.
And you have zero choice as to what food is going to be put in front of you. That is kind of the hallmark of a good restaurant. And even when you have choice at a better restaurant, usually you only can pick from like four or five things, usually.
Yeah.
They do a few things well. They use fresh ingredients. That's what you're gonna get. As opposed to when you go to Applebee's or Cheesecake Factory or
Yeah.
Chili's, how big is the menu? It's gigantic, right? There's tons of different things. Everybody's been to these restaurants, sure.
Although, you do have In and Out, Five Guys that are bucking that trend.
True. And you have like things that are not expensive but are more culinary focus, like pop-up restaurants and things like that where okay, it's a very serious culinary experience, but it's not expensive, right?
Hmm.
Um you definitely have those. But they also still have very limited menus. They just do a few things well and that's what they provide you. What's interesting is high-end restaurants back in the early 1900s, the late 1800s, they were typified by massive menus, similar to what you would see at Chili's or Cheesecake Factory. That was what people expected when they went to a fancy restaurant. When you go to a fancy restaurant now, you don't expect to see anything more than a tasting menu. And for these assholes to ask you to put down like $200 to $400 a person to eat seven little dishes, right? That is what you get at a fancy restaurant. That sounded a little aggressive. I'm not against fancy restaurants. It's actually quite, if you can afford fine dining, it's an awesome thing. I recommend it, at least a couple times. But that's what a fancy restaurant is today. But a fancy restaurant 100 years ago, 120 years ago, it looked like a Chili's menu. Why did this change? In the video, he details the reason why is because in the olden days, the thing that was scarce and the thing that marked luxury was choice. Like, look at all these many things I have to choose from. That's so rare. That's something only rich people have access to because we didn't have a global economy. You didn't have stuff shipping here, from here, there, everywhere. It's like, you want a fruit? You can have any fruit. Even if it's not in season and can't be grown on this continent, you could still eat it right now, right?
Yeah.
Imagine what a luxury that would be in 1900. So the amount of choice it conferred status, it conferred luxury, a sense of luxury. So that's why the high-end restaurants had that. Today,
What's interesting is it wasn't, I think they're saying in this video, it wasn't just the choice, but the expertise to know what to select among those choices conferred status or conveyed status.
did they? I didn't get that sense from the restaurant, from the video. I think it was mainly just choice.
No, 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 they did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, maybe. But having a bevy of choice was something only rich people had back then, right?
Hmm.
Whereas today, having a bevy of choice is just like, everybody has it. Go to a supermarket. Every supermarket has more choice in it than the richest person had in 1900. You have food from around the planet, probably. You have fruit that's not grown on this continent, and you can buy it for like a few bucks. You don't have to be rich. You just go to the supermarket and buy it right now. So when you go to a restaurant, there's no status in having choice. The status is in, oh, is this a chef that's known, right? Like a celebrity chef or respected chef who
Mm.
is gonna, curate a meal for me. It's like I got this curated meal experience from this high-end chef, and I can afford to pay for that. That confers status now. So that's what you get at a high-end, high-status restaurant. You get this curated experience where the value or the status is in how excellent the curation is, how excellent the execution is. That's a high-end restaurant now. That's what makes you gives you status. That's what marks you as something that a person that can get something that is scarce. There's no
Yeah.
scarcity in abundant choices when it comes to food anymore. So that's what that video is about, but we're not going to talk about food. What we are going to talk about is it got me thinking. It got me thinking. See, I try to, like, it got me connecting the dots here about what other things, if we could try to peer into the future, what other things do we think confer status right now or only elite people can get that will someday in the future be viewed upon as banal, as
Mm.
just common. And people in the future who have status, who have wealth, won't value this thing that right now in 2022 we place a very high value on. We think, oh yeah, only a Kanye can get that. Only a rich person can get that. Only Kim Kardashian can get this. Only the president can get this. In the future, everyone can get it, so nobody thinks anything of it. And now they value something totally different.
Are you still, so you're not restricting this to choice versus no choice? You're saying it could be anything,
It
any
could be
aspect.
anything. It could be anything where right now we think of this thing as, oh, wow, that confers status. Oh, wow, only the elite can get this thing.
Hmm.
Whereas we think that, put your, look into your crystal ball into the future, what kind of things will just not have that status anymore? And it might even invert. Just like
Hmm.
in this situation, it totally inverted. It went from a gigantic menu in the case your restaurant is for rich people and it's fancy to a super, super tiny and restricted menu indicates that. Whereas a giant menu kind of just says, you gosh, it's so common. This is for commoners. And I'll give you a moment to think about that, but I'll start off because I connected the dots and I thought of one thing immediately.
Hmm.
And it's hilarious because it also touches upon red pill concepts and black pill concepts. And it's just funny where I think we're going to end up. And it's this. Right now, you would agree. Last week, I think we talked about Leo DiCaprio, and we walk around Earth right now, so we know this is true. If you have a super, super attractive wife, you must be a high status man. Either you're super attractive yourself, which in itself is a certain amount of status, but more likely you're attractive and you have money, you're famous, you have clout, you have all this. You're Leo DiCaprio essentially. You have a 10 as a girlfriend. I can't have a 10 as a girlfriend. I wish I could, partly because I, you know, I'm sexually attracted to, a 10, but like it's not like I can't have sex with sexually attractive women. I do, but like that level higher would confer this extra status, and I would love to have that. Sure. Well, here's the thing: we both also accept that at some point in the future, the sex robots are coming,
Yep.
right? The replicants, they're going to solve maybe a weird word, but they're going to make more accessible sexual abundance to men via technology because there's a financial incentive to do that. How much money does the porn industry make right now? Tons. So you can believe that people in tech, people who are smart are looking to fill this demand because that's going to make them rich, and the demand is men's sexual drive to have sexual abundance. Men want to have sex with multiple women and attractive women, and multiple attractive women. That's just what men want to do. And technology and industry and innovators are going to solve that problem and address that need. At some point, we're going to have something like a sex robot. I don't know if they're just going to like do your dishes or your laundry or whatever, but it's going to be close enough to a human being that a lot of men are just going to say, yeah, this is pretty darn close to the real thing. And wonderful. Here's my money. Take my money, please. Repeatedly, take it. Well, in that future, what was once rare is now common. Leonardo DiCaprio can date 10 tens in a row. 10 tens at the same time he can date. In the future, your everyday Joe can do the exact same thing. He can have sex with tens nonstop, different looking ones, cycle them in, cycle them out. You just like probably press a button and she looks different the next day. This is going to be a thing at some point in the future. I'm sure of it. And that future is just there's
Do you
no.
want to be teleported there right now?
Yes, I do. Absolutely. 100%. But back to my point,
It'll probably get old.
it'll get old, but for the first year or so, I'm going to be just in heaven, right? It'll be awesome. Just pure bliss. But in that future, just like with the menu, there's no cachet, there's no value. It's like every guy can get multiple tens. Who I mean, they're robots, but assuming that the technology is really darn close. So what? Who cares, right? So what? You have an attractive wife. Nobody cares. So what? In that future, here's what I predict will happen. The status symbol will be, can you get an intelligent, cultured, well-rounded woman to be your wife?
Virtuous.
Virtuous, a good mother, good DNA to pass on to your kids. That's going to be the status symbol. Look at this woman. She went to MIT. She scored this on the SATs. Now our kids are going to be like, yeah,
Virgin.
she's a virgin. It's like she doesn't betray me. She's like well behaved and she supports me and she's well spoken and all of this will be status. It will look at that guy and say, "Wow, how did he get that woman? That I wish I could have that woman because she's hard to get." Like having sex with 10 tens like Leo DiCaprio, that's not hard to get. I just press some buttons when I come home. It's so easy, right? Just like I go to the supermarket and I can eat fruit from literally around the globe. That's not difficult at all. I think there was one meme I saw where someone said, if you went back in time to the medieval era, show those peasants like your smartphone and they'll be so impressed and shocked. And then someone said they won't be impressed and shocked. It will just look like a object. They don't have no idea. It's like, what is this dumb glass? What this glass? What is this stupid shit? Right? You want to impress them? Show them your spice cabinet, because your spice cabinet literally has stuff they understand. It's like, how did you get this spice? It's like, this spice came from India, and this one came from Chile. It's like, how? That would be amazing to them. They would just think you're the wealthiest. They would think you're a king of kings, right? How could anyone except a king of kings get spices from India and South America and just have it at your disposal? Well, this is going to be the same thing with hot women. You just press some buttons. You have all the hot women in history. You want your woman to look like Marilyn Monroe tonight? Sure, just press a few buttons, right? There's a code. There's like a 4-digit code for that, right? But if you want a woman who, is all of those things, erudite, intelligent, good mother, all of this stuff, that's going to be rare and that's going to be valued and it's going to be a status symbol. That's what I think will happen in this. I want to say far flung, but who knows how far flung it is? I think the robots are coming. Probably not
I
in
mean, the
our
thing is,
lifetime, but at some point.
in that yeah, in that future, I mean, you have to assume that there won't be, I don't know, some other kind of like cloning or birth technology, right? Where the woman is actually still needed for their
Oh,
egg
like you could just like create a human however you
or
want.
something like that. But I think the point is that the women in that future will be forced to compete again. I mean, even attractive women will be forced to
Yeah.
compete.
And well, even in a future where you can just sort of clone a baby that's just genetically a superhuman or whatever, for a
Then,
while at least, the
yeah, I mean, then
natural woman who's got all these other qualities will still be prized because
I
that's
mean,
like
if you could clone,
rare.
if you could clone people or whatever, and make the perfect person, then it wouldn't. If that was accessible, it wouldn't convey status then, right?
No, no. So let's
So,
assume that does not exist,
but it would
right?
have to be. But then, what would be status then would be if maybe if the person was created through natural means.
Perhaps, yeah, yeah. Perhaps if the person could be proven to be natural, but yet have different qualities, right?
Yeah.
Either attractive or I would say, because since your sex robot will never be, well, not never. I mean, probably the robots are taking over, so maybe they'll be even smarter than people. But let's say they're not that smart. Let's say the intelligence is minimal. Then the women who are super cultured, super educated, super intelligent will they're going to have the competitive advantage. They're going to be the scarce resource, and people will value them a whole lot more than the hot girl.
The thing is, you may not even need the sex robot, right? Like they maybe they'll just hook up a machine to your brain, and
Oh yeah, and you can sort of like
it'll
you'll
stimulate
think
whatever
you're
it needs to
having
be. Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, even that would sort of bring about this world, right? Where having a arm candy is not really doesn't really convey status, but having, a woman who graduated from MIT will, because you can't buy that and it's scarce. So I
I
think that
almost hope that MIT doesn't exist in this world based on the current direction that these universities are
sure,
headed.
but let's say that they do, then I think that there will be an inversion of what's valued in women. And my second point, building on this, since this is the case, feminists and ugly women everywhere should totally be for the onset of the sex robots. They should push for it. They should want it to come in about because it's just going to benefit them. They're going to be the people who are prized most, and all the hot girls who have nothing of other nothing else of value to add, whatever. They're just gonna be common. They're just gonna be just like the fruit at the supermarket that nobody thinks is special, even though it had to travel thousands and thousands of miles to get to your supermarket. And that in itself is a pretty special thing, but it's so common now, so nobody thinks of it that way.
Wait. Are you saying that that beauty won't be valued anymore? I thought what you meant was that they needed to be the entire package.
No, I think beauty won't be valued anymore. Just like right now,
I
variety,
see.
variety and choice is not valued. When you go to a restaurant, you don't think of it as status. You don't think, oh, I'm in a fancy restaurant. Let me put it on Instagram, right? You don't
Mm.
go to Cheesecake Factory, or at least I hope not. You don't go to Cheesecake Factory and put it on Instagram because nobody cares you went to Cheesecake Factory, right? So I don't think that people will even care that you have an attractive wife. They're not going to say you need to have an attractive plus super smart wife. No, they will just value you having a super smart wife, even if she's gross looking.
Hmm.
That's what I think. Now you can say, well, how do I even get it up and like procreate with her? Well, in the future, probably you could just do it through like in vitro or something like that, right? So you don't even necessarily have to have sexual relations with her. But when you want to have children and create a family unit, the prize is going to be that woman who is intellectual and has all this stuff that's going to be rare in that context. Whereas having a hot woman is not going to be rare because you can get it, in a sex robot, and it's close enough to an actual person that it's just not special anymore.
But sex robots, okay, in the future where we have sex robots, they're going to be very personable. They're going to
Well,
have a lot of the traits that you mentioned.
a very advanced one, yes. Like if you're talking about sex robots in from like Blade Runner, where they're almost indistinguishable from people, right?
Hmm.
Then yes, they're going to be very personable. But then here's the thing: you can't reproduce with a sex robot, even in Blade Runner, right?
Hmm.
So people are going to ask you, well, you have a family, right? It's like, yeah. Who's your wife? This person is my wife. Well, what kind of person is she? Saying that she's attractive is not going to be a special thing at all. But if you can say that she uh, is really intelligent and can pass down those genes to your kids, that's going to be status. You can't even, no matter how personable the replicants are in Blade Runner, you can't reproduce with them. Well, in the latest film they could, but ignore the latest film. Just go with the original film, you know? And you can also imagine a world where I have to imagine that they're going to perfect the physical aspects of the sex robots before they perfect the AI. Like you're not going to get a person who's funny and smart and clever in a robot before you
Really?
get.
Wait, I think it'll be the opposite.
You think so? I just
Just
don't
based
agree.
on,
So you think that they're going to perfect the brain first?
I think so. Just based on, did you? I mean, you read that excerpt, right? Of I can't. What is the name of that AI?
The Lambda Google AI? Yeah.
Yeah. But there's
But
actually,
yeah. So I do think that Google has like created AI or was close to it.
yeah.
But the thing is, I don't know that AI is clever and funny. I think that's really a really hard humanistic sort of quality to capture.
It's already interpreting Zen koans though. Like,
Yeah, I just think that humor and personality and cleverness is just so much farther away from that. I
oh
just think it's
man.
really far
Okay.
away. I think physical is easier. I really do.
Huh.
That's just
Okay.
I we disagree, but I think that creating a woman that is believably a hot woman is easier than making an AI that is intellectual
Okay.
and clever and
Okay,
funny.
but if you think about what came out of Lambda, I mean, you read it, right?
I read
I
the
guess.
whole excerpt, yeah.
Okay. And then compare that to what Optimus looks like from Tesla.
Yeah, but Optimus isn't made to be a sex robot. It's just
Yeah,
made to be like it's
it's
not made to be
shown.
sexual.
Okay.
They make like sex dolls right now that look very realistic. I mean, they don't look like people exactly, but they look really realistic.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, to me, yeah, if I just think about Optimus, versus human appearance,
He's not
and
meant to be
then
a sex robot though.
yeah. Okay.
I hope not. Maybe some people want to have sex with it.
Maybe I need to Google sex robots because I'm not. I confess I'm not up to date on
Google sex dolls and you'll
the,
see
this
how
the
realistic
state
they've
of
got.
art. Yeah.
Yeah. They don't move around and talk, but it gives you an idea of how close they are to making something that looks, like an attractive woman. And I think that we're closer on that front, you
Wow.
know, than we are making a funny, educated, witty woman. I
Hmm.
just don't.
Okay.
I think that's going to be super valued in
Oh
this
wow,
future.
they have obese sex dolls.
Yeah, they do. There's some guys out there who prefer that.
Wow.
So now that you've heard my prediction about one thing that will be inverted as far as what is considered valuable or rare or conveys status, do you think
Well, actually,
can you think of
wait.
something that similar that will sort of
Before
flip?
Yeah, before we move on, I was just going to say that this kind of dovetails into our stance on prostitution as well, does it not?
Right, that we think it should be normalized and legalized.
Right.
But then we think that in order to balance the sexual marketplace,
Right. Well, I
it
mean,
needs to happen.
basically, a similar thing. I mean, it forces women to compete more.
Yeah. So we are for that. I'm for technology. I'm for the advent of sex robots. I'm for that stuff. Absolutely. But yeah, but right now I'm talking about, well, what does this mean in the future as far as what things are valuable in a
Right, right.
person?
So the only other, let's see, besides money, like what else conveys status right now, right? The thing that immediately jumps into mind is basically your follower count. Is there going to be, is it possible that there could be some inversion occurring there? And
Um,
I can't think of,
I don't think so because not everybody will have the same follower. It won't be easy to have a bunch of followers ever, will it? Can that just be flattened out? I don't think so. Can it?
I mean, man, I really,
And I thought about this with money too. It's like more resources will always be better. I don't think there will be a future where, oh, there's like having the amount of resources you have just is irrelevant. No. I think more resources will always be better.
in this, I mean, in the future, communication might be vastly different. Probably,
It's fine you can't think of anything either, but
yeah,
I just
be higher bandwidth communication. Like basically just, you're linking
well,
minds or something like that, right?
if then this is stretching it really, really. This is real futurist stuff. But if you stretch it so far out, and you think of a future where uh all human brains are linked up in sort of some sort of hive mind,
Yeah,
like a Borg,
yeah,
where we all experience the same thoughts at the same time, then nobody has more attention, more followers, was more famous than anyone else.
yeah.
We're all absolutely equal in that regard. In that world, then yeah, it doesn't matter how many followers you have on Instagram. You'll have zero followers, in fact, or you'll have every single person on earth as a follower.
Hmm.
Um, that's so hard to envision, though. I don't even know that status exists in that sort of world, right? Like, but then you can see how that would just be so hilarious. Going back to my example, that would be so hilarious if X years in the future, people look back on it and then they saw us idolizing a guy like Leonardo DiCaprio because he had many beautiful women. And wow, only the highest status males could get many beautiful women.
Yeah, just from an abstract level, I just feel like if you can commoditize appearance or beauty, then I feel like same thing is going to happen to intelligence. I don't know.
It probably will, but I'm just assuming that it happens at a later time.
Hmm.
I'm not saying I can tell the future, but I'm just saying I think in the future the AI is gonna be lagging behind our ability to make an attractive woman robot. And I think you probably looked up sex dolls just now, so you've probably seen they're pretty attractive already. So we're not that far. They just have to move around and walk and talk a little bit. But as far as them being witty and clever and intelligent, they'll be intelligent in the way an AI is intelligent. But like looking at the conversation between the Lambda AI at Google, it wasn't a thing that I would enjoy talking to, right? Like I would love to sit down and talk to people that have wit and humor, and I didn't get any of that from the AI.
I
It's
thought
just
it actually, yeah, I don't agree with that because I thought the dialogue was pretty interesting,
okay. Well,
especially when the guy asked him or asked the AI about the Zen koan.
yeah, the Zen code it showed an ability to think abstractly, but that's
I mean, the ability to come up with analogies, actually.
I'm looking for more. I'm
Hmm.
looking for more in a human being that I want to interact with that I consider witty,
Hmm.
right? That
Well, to
that
me, it was like
it couldn't
it
tell you a
demonstrated
joke that makes you laugh, in my opinion.
maybe, but it demonstrated a certain amount of wisdom, you could say. I could learn from talking to this thing.
But that's not what I would consider like I wouldn't say that's not special though, right? There's that like I would say that it evinces a certain amount of wisdom that a lot of humans have. I don't think it's that special. I
Man,
think that
there's so many Zen koans I'd love to throw at this at
I
this
would
AI
say
and just
that
see what it says.
yeah, I would say that it's more special to encounter a person that's witty and humorous. Like I don't know anybody who's as funny and as personable as like a Robert Downey Jr., right? So
Hmm.
his personality and his mind would be super prized in this world, even if you put it in a really ugly body, right? And let's say you're talking about women, like an equivalent woman who had that sort of wit, that would just be so rare. And if you could say that your spouse had that,
I
then you have something rare. Whereas people who just have either an attractive woman or a woman that understands Zen koans, it's still more common than a person that has true humor and wit and is just so has sort of a personality.
Okay, but I think if you break down humor, the ability that somebody needs for to be funny really is just the ability to rapidly make associations,
It might
which
be. So you
which I
just think
think
that the more intelligent someone is, the more humorous they're.
no, I mean I'm talking about a specific, it's like a structural ability of your brain to sort of
Okay.
quickly see connections between things that appear unrelated, but it's able to form a connection
Okay.
that, oh, these things are somehow related. And
Sure.
that to
Sure.
me, that sort of foundational ability, it seems like it's something that a computer would be or an AI would be extremely good at.
I just don't agree.
So, okay.
I just don't agree because I think there's more of an art to it. Because here's here's what I my evidence that I counter with. I know a lot of extremely intelligent people who are not funny at all.
Hmm.
What's missing?
I think
I
what's
don't know. I
missing.
don't know. I can't describe what's missing. There's an art to it. There's something we don't know that's
Mm,
happening. You you know people who are intelligent. You know
sure, but I
you're
mean,
in a field that has
sure,
intelligent people who are not funny, right?
yeah, but intelligence, it does come in many different shapes, right? And forms.
Well,
I
I
think,
would say that the intelligence you get from an AI is similar to just what you get in most intelligent people. It's just processing speed. I think humor and wit is just something different.
the thing is, AI basically, essentially, it has perfect memory, right? And so perfect recall. So I think in that sense, it has a huge advantage in being able to be funny.
It
Um,
probably has an advantage. I would say yes, that's an advantage. But at the same time,
Because how do I know this? This is one of the things I realize as I get older, right? Because I my ability to come up with associations has been dramatically, it's worsened dramatically, and as a result, I can feel myself being unfunnier by the day. So,
Yeah, it probably that does hurt your ability to be funny, but I don't
and
think that
also it
I think it's a necessary but not a sufficient quality for
r-
being witty.
yeah, maybe, but the thing is, I would say the ability to form associations is
It's not
related.
sufficient
It
though.
it is related to IQ, but a lot of the people, like you mentioned, oh, me in my field, the people who are good in my field, they aren't necessarily intelligent in that maybe that certain high IQ way, right? It's like they could just be good problem solvers, and
No.
that's not
No.
necessarily intelligence.
I don't agree with it. I'm pretty sure if you took a survey of IQ tests, people in your field, they have high IQs. I don't think we have to
Mm,
Google very hard to establish that. They have to go to schools and to get degrees where the average IQ is higher. You
sure, if
know
you're
that's
talking about
true.
Okay, if you're talking about average, but what I'm saying is that I don't think, you asked the question, why is it that a lot of these people aren't funny? I think they, it's a slightly distinct, or it's not a totally overlapping set of.
No, it's not totally overlapping, but that's what I'm saying. It's not exactly intelligence. So I think that when you create an AI, it will be more intelligent than a human being. Absolutely. It will remember everything. It will process things faster. In that sense, in that brute sense of intelligence, yeah, it's more intelligent. That's the clinical definition of intelligence, just how fast you can process things. But wit and humor and personality, they come from something else. I don't know how to
Did
describe it
did
because intelligent people don't often have it.
did Lambda actually come up with any jokes? I don't remember.
No, I didn't have any
Okay,
jokes. It wasn't asked to tell any jokes, but
the person
like, but
didn't
but
ask.
let's use that example right now. And this is unfair because we're not sure that Lambda's an AI. That's not been proven. I kind of think it is, but if you were talking to a funny person like a comedian for that long, as long as the person was talking to Lambda, that person would crack some jokes. That person would make you laugh a few times. That person would show their unique personality. And you're just not going to get that from an AI right now. Or I think that in the future, even, I'm not going to say never, but I'm going to say it's a long way off. And furthermore, I will say creating a body that looks and feels like a human being, like an attractive woman, I think that's closer than creating AI with this true sort of special personality, you know? And
Hmm.
so I do think that that's still going to be more valuable to partner with a person that has that.
All right, so I just Googled it. There's a Time article with the headline, Artificial Intelligence can now craft original jokes, and that's no laughing matter.
Okay. What's one of the jokes?
Two fish are in a tank. Says one to the other, you man the guns, I'll drive.
Yeah, that is a joke. I didn't find it particularly funny, but it is impressive and that the AI could make that connection, right? Because, tank, play on words, two different definitions of tank. That's kind of it's kind of a dad joke. So yeah, that's a joke.
It is a dad joke, yeah.
Yeah, it is a dad joke. So I wouldn't say it's particularly funny, but it is a joke and it is structured like one. I agree. But I almost think that goes to show that yeah, it's hard. It's hard to be truly funny. It's hard to really have a special personality. And so if you have that sort of charisma and intelligence and wit, that's going to be rare. I don't think that we're going to be able to create an AI that's as
Mm,
funny and as personable as like a Robert Downey Jr. before. Now, I didn't say never. I didn't say we'll never be able to create it, but we won't be able to create it before we're able to create a hot looking woman that guys can have sex with. I think that
okay.
comes first. I think that comes first. The technology is closer. Right now, you're just getting dad jokes. Whereas, we already have like sex dolls that are pretty attractive.
We should ask Elon Musk what he thinks because I'm not in a position to really. I'm a non-expert on both of these, robotics and AI. Whereas I'd be interested what he would say.
He would probably say that these things are terrible for the future of mankind and it will cause a gigantic population decline.
But no, but yeah, I don't care about that, right? I'm just asking him which do you think is going to come first?
Oh, which is the things going first? Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be a good
funny,
question.
funny AIs or sex robots?
Not
You could
just
try.
funny, but supremely funny. You know, like top level, like Robert Downey Jr.,
Yeah,
Dave
okay. Well,
Chappelle,
let's just say an AI that you would pay money to
to
you know
see.
yeah to see.
Just like a female woman that's so hot, you paid money to either have sex with her or to see her in a movie, right? We're talking about
Hmm.
that level of beauty.
Yeah,
When when are we going to be able to recreate that versus when are we going to be able to recreate the Dave Chappelle, you know?
yeah.
And I think on the other side, it's just that's so special, and we don't really know what goes into making a person that charismatic or funny. Whereas we pretty much do know what goes into making a woman super, super hot. We do know that. We just need better materials, better robotics, and things like that. We have to improve all of those things. But as far as what it is, we know. We know what that looks like.